What's up, hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. We've got a sweet episode today. We are both back from Adepticon 2023. We got lots to talk about, lots of things that we did, and lots of people that we met and stuff. Golden Demon. But let's get into it. What have we been up to besides that? Have you been painting anything, Brent? Doing anything other than getting all the crap from Adepticon out of your bag?
I've actually been painting a lot of the crap that I got from Adepticon.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm trying it different this year. Normally, I go to a convention, I buy a couple of things, I get a couple of freebies, I throw that all in the pile. I get all excited about it, goes in the pile. And then next year, it kind of gets buried a little bit deeper under the pile, and then it's layered and stratified, and the cool stuff I get just gets deeper and deeper and deeper down in that pile. But this year, I'm going to try something different, and I actually got paint on like 4 or 5 different like sets of minis that I got at Adepticon, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. Now, I haven't like finished any of them, but I've gotten a lot of them 80% done. Like, chose the colors and like, hey, this is working pretty well. If I neaten this up, it might be cool. And then I move on to the next one, which is a different way of kind of creating a layer of unfinished minis. But at least I got some paint on there, and it is possible. Yeah, I'll come back for a little bit of a second draft and actually get a fair numbers of minis done. But yeah, so we got back from Adepticon about 2 weeks ago, and this is the biggest miniature convention, certainly in America, of the year, or biggest, most focused on minis convention.
Specifically, tabletop wargaming.
That one, yes.
That's the focus. Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, it's pretty small comparatively to other much larger.
It's like 6,000 people or so.
I think, something like, it was like 6,500 was the number they recorded this year, which is more than it was last year. So
nice.
It's doing good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just in our cycle, the day we got back from the convention is actually when we released Kobold Talk episode 2, which was a big hit. Thank you all for your contributions.
Yes, yes, and for buying that Kobold merch, and I'm not kidding. Thank you.
You know what? I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Adam. I think came up with this one, the Kobold of Bagger Vance.
Oh man.
Which led me to think about the Curious Kobold of Benjamin Button, but
Button. I'm not even gonna.
Is it Benjamin Button? I don't know. It don't matter.
Yeah, it
matters.
That's
I never
that's
watched that movie. It seemed really, really dumb, so I never watched it. But
you didn't watch it? It was actually pretty good. Kate Blanchett. Come on, anything.
If it was about Benjamin Button's Curious Kobold, I definitely would have watched it.
It was called Benjamin Button. I think that would make it a better movie.
Hold on. I had a point I was getting to.
I know.
Lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's
going back to Kobold Town. Yeah. Welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast with your source for. Yeah, I don't have it written down. You have it written down.
It doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter.
So we are 2 weeks back from Adepticon, and I have spread out before me here my idea board. I've got all my business cards, all my stickers that I acquired there. And I think this might actually be an interesting episode, because the fun part about a convention is that it's where people convene and you run into people. Some people you expect to run into, some are complete surprises, some you've heard of, some you haven't heard of, but it really is an invigorating thing to do once a year. And so just kind of new ideas coming at you from every direction, new connections. And so I got my business cards and my stickers and my haul all laid out in front of me here. And I think we've got a lot to talk about. It's it's a grab bag. This isn't just going to be like what we did on our vacation. It's going to be ton of little like fun ideas. So, where do you want to start, Casey?
Well, I'm going to hit that boot and really lay into the... No, so the main thing that I did when I went is that I participated in Golden Demon. I made a video about it. And then when we were there, we tried to make, with Brent's help, of course, filming and pushing me, we made a video about rescuing a model at the convention, which was pretty cool. So those were my main focuses at Adepticon, and they were pretty cool. And honestly, yeah, just meeting a crap load of people. Like this year was the first year in a while, obviously, that there were no masks, there were no mandates or anything. So walking around in general, like we got to meet a lot of people, and that was pretty surprising because like last year I thought, hey, we met a good amount of people, but we also had masks on the whole time, and this time we didn't, and that the amount of people we ended up meeting, I don't know, quadrupled at least.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
When you have a mask on, it takes a little while longer to recognize people, or and sometimes you're all the way past them before you're like, hey, was that old Miniac, and
yeah.
And so you don't say hi to your buddy Scott, but this time a little easier to spot folks, and
yeah, for sure.
And the facial expressions, it's easier to read. Like, yeah, I like to meet people. I am happy to be seeing you and meeting you, and so you can kind of convey a lot when you can actually see each other's face.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we met a ton of people, but yeah, tell us about the videos you took there at Adepticon. You're multitasking.
A little bit. I mean, it's funny because last year I got a ton of video and I wasn't really planning on getting a lot. And I've used that video throughout the year. And so like part of my thinking was, okay, I'm going to go in and like use my camera a bunch. And this year I got my camera out like once. So yeah, I really didn't take a lot of video except for what we were shooting specifically. Which it's kind of a bummer because I wanted to record the event a little bit more. And I know we talked about it on past episodes that we really wanted to do some demo games and get in there and kind of look at a bunch of different things. We got like one demo game in. So that's kind of a little bit weird.
Freeblades by DGS.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna go into Freeblades for a minute before we run off into the next piece, just because we hit
it's a skirmish game. Yeah, it's a skirmish game. I think I had 6 characters on my team, and you had about the same. I had the bandits, the Bloody Rose. You had some undead dudes.
Like undead dudes, yeah, something like that. Yeah, interesting game for sure. It was like at first seemed kind of normal-ish as far as a skirmish game is. You move X amount, you do whatever, you score an objective. The further we got into it, though, the more things started to build, and all of a sudden I'm rolling a D14. Can you believe it?
That was the, I don't know, the gimmick or the special sauce of this game is that it's played with D4, D6, D8, 10, 12. I mean, depending on modifiers, 14, 16. I'm not sure about 18. I don't even know if
I got up to 16.
Super possible.
Yeah.
But, okay.
I actually did roll a D16, and they're like, oh, no, don't worry. We have one. Like, which I don't know anybody who owns one of those, but yeah, the dude just bust out a D16. All right, cool. Yeah.
So for like your cheaper fodder characters is like, they attack with a D6 and they still need to get a 5 to hit the enemy. Whereas like your elite guys like, I roll a D12 and I need a 5 to hit the enemy. Like that was old. That was my bastardization of the core mechanic of the game. But yeah.
It's fair. That's perfectly fine.
That's what I
Basically,
retained.
the more stuff that happened, the bigger the dice and the fancier the thing. But it was fun. It was pretty cool. We did end a little early, so we technically don't know who won.
But we played pretty close to a full game, though. I'm pretty sure I lost. I think so. But
it's possible.
I had a good turn too, and then you proceeded to wreck me from turn 3 on out. But
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy leading the demo game, I think his name was Aaron. Was the studio painter right. for a lot of the Freeblades minis, and very, very cool paint jobs.
Yeah.
So the demo was held, a couple aisles over from where their sales booth was. And traditionally, it has been a metal models company with a couple of the larger minis having like resin bits and stuff. Actually, very early on the Goobertown Hobbies channel, I painted not a dragon, but a wyvern rider.
Yes,
I got a lot of comments. It has something to do with dragons have forearms, wyverns do not, allegedly. But anyway, there's a wyvern rider in one of those lines. It's almost like a Roman legionary riding a wyvern. And I painted that very early on in Goobertown Hobbies, and that's been my only experience with DGS Freeblades so far. But here we are, and they have started to produce in COcast. So they're slowly changing over from metal to COcast. I bought their newest faction band, which is kind of Native American Chaos Warriors. I don't know. We'll see about that. But
basically,
it's their first full. It's the Erdagar. Hold on, the Erdagar.
Yeah.
Erdagar, Tribes of Ruin.
See, now I don't trust your pronunciation whatsoever. But that's fine.
And in the Erdagar Tribes of Ruin, we have a Dark Herald, a Vanquisher, a Tangler, a Predator, a War Jackal, and 2 Thralls, who I will name Benjamin and Bhutan.
I don't want to derail this whole thing. I don't. But
hey, we're getting through our haul. We've got a whole... Yeah. That's good.
I just have to ask, what made you think that it was pronounced that? What? Possibly.
Now, dear listener, if you have a last name of Button, please let us know in the comments. Go to the YouTube web zone and let us know if you have the last name of Button. I've just never heard that as a last name before. I assumed it had some sort of a twist on it to make it
it's some sort of
actual name.
French,
Bhutan. Yeah,
something. Yeah. Bhutan.
I don't know. I just, my mind rejects the possibility that there was a person with the last name of Button. The rest of the premise is also rubbish, but, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a fictional story. Anyways,
fine.
I don't want to derail. I don't want to do it. We're moving on.
That's not the most curious thing about Benjamin, but it's a silly last name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not the... No, if you've seen the movie. It's fine.
Curious Kobold of Benjamin Button. That just tickles me.
It's still funny. Yeah. Still good.
Okay. So that was part of my haul. Did you buy anything at Freeblades? Did you buy the exact same thing I did?
Exact same thing you did, because they were in COcast and they were in COcast. That's why I bought them.
Yep.
I like metal models, and they had some really good ones. Although it was weird. I was looking for specific models that they had, and I saw them on the table, and I don't know if they just weren't painted the same in the case or what the deal was, but I couldn't find the ones that I actually wanted in metal. But I mean, I was going to get the COcast ones regardless. It was a pretty fun game. Definitely, 2-0 for demo games thus far at Adepticon with you. If we want to count that, which it sounds like we did. So yeah, that's pretty cool. We tried to get a Star Wars demo, didn't end up doing that. We looked at the Conquest First Blood demo and then just didn't do it for some reason. Like we just kind of ended up talking to people at the Conquest.
Yeah, we just hung out at the booth. Hours. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was great. It was great. Possible, fun times in Greece at some point. But yeah, that was actually a really good time. Ended up talking to the owner of Conquest, asking him a bunch of questions about, their casting and just the history of everything and how that kind of went down. Interesting enough, the owner was basically a huge fantasy player, Warhammer Fantasy. And he said he wasn't one of the guys that lit his army on fire when GW killed the old world, but thought about it. And decided, you know what, I'm going to make my own rank and flank sweet game.
Yeah.
And he did.
Rank and flank game.
Pretty sweet.
Typical unit size is 12 models because they scaled up the size of the miniatures a little bit. So you don't have to paint like 30, goblins for a unit, which is nice. Yeah. They don't have goblins though. We got to talk about that. They got orcs. That's good. It's a start. It's a start. But yeah. And, they were telling us a little bit about the history, and any consumer can see that their older models are nowhere near as good as their modern models for the Conquest line. And he was telling us kind of why that is, and that, there definitely have been a couple of factories along the lines. And
right.
The first factory is not up to the standard that Archon Studio can do there in Poland. So anyway, nowadays, and I've been painting a lot of Conquest minis myself, and there's a huge difference just over the past 4 or 5 years in mini quality. Some of the old ones are still fine. Some of them are actually still pretty cool, but the new ones are good. And it was just really refreshing to hear the founder of Parabellum Games just being super honest about we did what we could in the beginning. We were figuring it out. There were a lot of things to work through as you're starting up a games company, a miniature company, and producing plastic minis from the very beginning. There were some rough patches in there, but they got it figured out, and they keep releasing new units. They keep releasing new factions, and everyone is better than the last. And I remain excited about Conquest.
Yeah. I should mention, too, that the tournament for Conquest at Adepticon last year, I think they ended up with like 8 people, which is pretty sad. Now, granted, it's a fairly new game. Not a lot of people were into it. And I think last year's showing and their booths at multiple conventions helped kind of really garner, a lot of growth, right? This year they had like 40 people, and they capped out their list, and they're just like, oh, that's the room we have. That's what we have. So it's definitely growing, which I think is really cool. But yeah, it was super refreshing to hear the owner of a company, the founder of something, going like, oh yeah, no, we made some bad decisions. We ended up getting screwed over by some people. It's like all this stuff happened. We did our best, and now we're trying to make up for that, and clearly doing a good job at doing that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things we were doing when we were hanging out there is the Conquest booth was right next to the Resin Beast competition because they were right next to the Creature Caster booth. And so this year, in previous years, the Resin Beast painting competition was just for Creature Caster minis. This year, it was Creature Caster minis and Conquest, and there's even talks of expanding that out to more companies in the future. But it was a painting competition. The display booths were... The display cases were not great, and they were just in the vendor hall.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of minis in there. People were participating. There were a lot of good minis in there. And there was talk of expanding it in the future and going pretty hard with it. So Golden Demon is obviously the huge mini painting competition at Adepticon. Very nice cases, stocked full of great paint jobs. Awesome to come and look at. But Resin Beast, we'll see where it is in a year or two.
Well, I mean, look, like Sam Lenz won gold in the category that he was in this year, which was really awesome. And he didn't even get a trophy at all in Golden Demon, even though I feel like he deserved a couple of them. But that's whatever.
A lot of good painters submitting a lot of good work in Golden Demon.
Very, very true. Yeah.
But if you're a talented painter, Resin Beast, it sounds like they're interested in doing cash prizes, and they did this year.
Yeah.
And I definitely have mixed feelings about that, of, the subjective judging choice of which minis get kind of a lot of money for their paint jobs. But on the other hand, people put 20, 30, 50, 100 hours into their paint jobs, and if they're that good, I mean, hey, all right, I get it. It.
I mean, in terms of like dollars for hours kind of thing, that's really not worth it. But
true.
If you're gonna pick between like Golden Demon, which gives 0 cash prizes, and Resin Beast, which I think this year was $2,000 for the gold.
I think that's what I heard. Yep.
Yeah, that's not a lot, but it's not nothing for sure. And I mean, that's a
good day right there. That's a real good day right there.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also enough so that there's some feel bads if you come in fourth or whatever.
I mean, I didn't talk to anybody who didn't win. Well, that's not true. A couple people, but for the most part, I didn't talk to a lot of people that didn't win Resin Beast. It was the people who didn't win Golden Demon that were more upset.
Sure.
And that's no cash.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's a good thing. I think it's going to draw some people who would otherwise just enter Golden Demon because it's there.
That's the most interesting part about it. Yeah. It is. It's a draw for more talented people to put minis into, the painting competition for companies that are not Games Workshop. Yeah. It's if you're gonna put 100 hours into a paint job and essentially give free advertising to a company, right now most people give the free advertising to Games Workshop. That's always been the case. But hey, it's kind of cool to see really nice Conquest minis, really, really nice Creature Caster minis. And I hope that I hope that competition keeps growing, because I would love to see it. Like Conquest especially, like I had not seen the best painted Conquest minis I'd seen are the box art. The best painted Conquest minis I'd seen are some of the like samples that they bring with them to conventions. They have oftentimes they'll have a couple of like really nice painted units, which I think are the box art models. And that they're well painted. I think they have a really cool style to them. But that's the best Conquest mini I'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
Until this year at Resin Beast. There were some really nice paint jobs in there. And the thing with that painting competition is that it's not in the, this is obviously meant to be advertisement for Games Workshop, so the winners are going to be, those that stick with the lore, those that stick with the models that they're currently trying to sell and all that stuff. It felt, we'll see if that changes in the future, but in the case where it's a painting competition, but within a single category, there are minis from different companies, there's not that level of like, that Creature Caster demon doesn't fit the lore as well as that Conquest orc does, right? Yeah.
No, it definitely feels more like subjective to like, oh, wow, that's really cool, or that's really good, or, So yeah, Resin Beast had a lot of really good stuff this year, and I think I'm definitely going to probably enter next year. But this year, I did enter something into Golden Demon. decided to make a video about it, kind of encourage people to just go for it. Like a lot of people just don't enter something. They don't feel like they should or whatever the case is. But I think it's a good thing to do because you can pretty much hang out and talk to people and ask questions. But my model was certainly not the most exciting in the case this year. No, in fact, Fiverr from Sugar Candy Miniatures, they had probably the most talked about model out of anybody. Like I talked to a bunch of people, right? We both did. And everyone brought up this sweet sugar, like fascinating knight that was in the case. And in fact, Sam Lenz took one picture of Golden Demon this year. And it was of Fiverr's model. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I did actually know that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was also, we had at least one conversation with just a person in the hallway, and we, we're talking about, we need to go take another swing by the Golden Demon cases and see what else has gotten put in there in the last 12 hours or whatever. And yeah, just a random guy on the street was telling us, like, yeah, did you see the knight that had the Dairy Queen spoon? And it was painted all like pink, and it was based on like a gingerbread house or something. Or whatever it was, just candy everywhere. Yeah, that was a talked about mini. Didn't win any awards, and I don't know what the judges were doing, but everyone else knew which one was the winner. So,
for sure. I mean, like the fact that it was the most talked about model, like probably the most photographed, by far, I imagine, and like done really well. Right? It wasn't like, it was just kind of for funsies. No, it was like done really well on top of it. Like the freehand little strawberries and all the stuff on there looked really cool.
Yeah, the weapon was a long-handled spoon from Dairy Queen, like they eat a Dairy Queen Blizzard out of. And they gave it to their cat Lobster to like bite on a little bit to kind of weather up the weapon arm. And it just turned out great. So you can put any old thing in the Golden Demon case as long as like most of it didn't come from Dairy Queen.
But somehow Dairy Queen ice cream not applicable to Golden Demon, but
apparently not.
Model though, painted like that. Yes.
But also Resin Beast, and also I didn't get in there as much as I wanted to, but there was competition for Marvel Crisis Protocol as well. So, yep. But,
there was some good stuff in that case. We didn't really spend a lot of time there, but what we did see, what I saw, was really good.
Heck yeah. Anyway, convention, just seeing all kinds of cool stuff, getting excited about the hobby all over again, new directions. You buy yourself some more Relic Blade because it's been a little while since you bought Relic Blade. And
what I don't even remember what'd you buy this year.
Some the Wretched Hive, which I think is like iguans, which are kind of like iguana men, but
iguans. That makes sense. Iguanamins.
I got one Iguan Witch, one Iguan Slaver, one Iguan Poacher, and one Mangrove Basilisk.
Ooh, Basilisk.
Feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah. I ended up with the Dwarven Miners. I don't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
But they look pretty sweet, and I needed another box for some reason. I actually also bought the Black Site Terrain. I finally bit the bullet a couple weeks ago. I think we may have talked. I don't remember if we talked about this. It doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
Because I did actually want to talk about some Black Site stuff, because one of the games that I'm actually more excited about from the convention, which wasn't on my radar, even though we've literally talked about it, was Yafziga.
Yafziga.
Yeah, I had a long... Oh, I didn't even tell you this. Dude, I was stuck in the in the Denver airport for like 12 hours on my way home.
Oh, it's good to catch up with you, Casey. How you doing?
Yeah, I know. That's probably where I got COVID. But like Yeah,
Were you there with the creator of Yafziga?
Yeah, I wish. That'd be great. No, I just ended up like pulling that book out and like going through it. It's really cool. And I'm planning on doing some projects based around Yafziga.
All right.
Because it's just cool. It's just sweet. But yeah, so I bought the terrain from them, and they ended up giving me the book because I didn't have the book. I'd never heard of the game before. Which is really nice of them. And now I'm like legitimately interested in actually working on something, which doesn't usually happen, honestly. Because yeah, reading books and doing the things, it's not exactly, it doesn't always pull you in, you know. But this Yafziga, yeah, you got to check that out.
Yeah, that layover in Denver changed your life.
It did. I didn't, I'm not super sick anymore, obviously. I still got a little cough going. But yeah, gave me some COVID, read some Yafziga. I ran into somebody I actually knew, which was kind of cool, for like 20 minutes before we had to board planes.
Okay.
But that was pretty funny. Yeah, just like super random. It was an interesting 12 hours. Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard this story. We'll have to talk more, Casey. But I'm glad you're getting into Yafziga.
Yeah. Feeling good about it. Feeling good.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the Chalice Knights. So it's kind of like a medieval setting. It's a 2 feet by 2 feet board skirmish
which
game.
I like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the demo game kind of looked. Yeah, it was. This was the one with the cards, right? Like the deck of cards?
Yes.
Cards?
Yeah, you use a deck of cards instead of dice, and each card that you pull represents whatever thing that you can do with whatever character, and, they've got stats and whatever.
Yeah, it's a skirmish game with 4 slots for ace, king, queen, jack. And so, like, your
Joker
ace...
in there somewhere.
So, like, your ace might be your wizard, and, like, your jack might be 3 archers or something like that. And so... It seemed like it could be more than 4 minis, but not a lot more. There were a couple of, like, you could, have 3 footmen instead of 1 hero or something like that. But
yeah, it's like you could have a hero that does more, or you could split it up into 3 footmen that do a little bit less, but they're, you can do different things. So it still balances out, apparently.
Okay. I mean, hey, you read the rule book. I flipped through it and looked at the cool pictures, but
there are cool pictures in there.
It's like a fantasy world that's in trouble because the wilderness is growing too fast or something, and people are turning into plants.
Pretty much. It's like there's like a bubble of weird crap growing, and so it took over the town, and people are going in, risking the, potentially getting infected by this weird plant growth, or getting some treasures. So, It's an interesting concept, and I mean, it's funny because like a lot of people that we ended up talking to are like, "Oh, have you seen that Yafziga? It's like that movie Annihilation mixed with like Necromunda or Mordheim or whatever." And it's like, okay, that's a really very specific description. And turns out that's exactly... I gotta watch that
movie Annihilation. Yeah.
Have you not seen that movie?
No, I haven't. I'll catch up and let you know.
Hey, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
All
right. Saw it in theaters. It's good.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. I got one more purchase that I made. Ran into Byron from Artis Opus, and they were giving tutorials there at the booth, and so I've been slap chopping a lot lately. I've been desiring to get better with dry brushing, and yeah. I would say that Artis Opus, in addition to, they've got their business, but they also have the YouTube channel, and I'd say that the YouTube channel is probably the best source of information about dry brushing in this hobby. Kind of a lot of the other people who have learned it recently have learned from that YouTube channel, from Byron, and so kind of a seminal source if you want to learn about dry brushing. And he sat me down on early in the convention right there at the booth and gave me like a 15-minute tutorial, which was very useful. And so I bought some dry brushes. And I think it's going to be one of those things where, I mean, they're expensive. Like I think it was $120 for 5 dry brushes, something like that. So expensive enough that, knowing me, I may never take them out of the box, but I'm happy to support that knowledge. And I mean, like yesterday I went to Walmart and bought, 5 makeup brushes for $10, and I am much more likely to use those.
Killing me. You're killing Byron if he heard you right now. He's like, makeup brushes.
I'll set it as my goal to try to force myself to sully those brand new brushes.
Okay. That's a stretch, right? Like, unless you just jam that paint right up in there. Like, you're talking about just the tips of the bristles.
Well, I learned all that in the tutorial. I learned all that in the tutorial.
So you know exactly how not to screw them up. Like, yes, you have to take care of your dry brushes, and you have to clean them properly. But, like, that's it. That's all you got to do. You kill me with your cheap brushes, man. You kill me.
I hear you. So, but hey, I bought expensive brushes, and that's a step in the right direction.
I might as well have just taken them. You wouldn't have known the difference. You were like, oh yeah, I have those somewhere.
So the markings on the box are Artis Opus Series D5. And they were also selling identical looking boxes that said Series S.
You almost walked away with those, yeah.
That's I came very close to just buying like regular expensive paint brushes, which I would not have been cool with.
That would have been great.
I would have figured it out like 8 months later when I was finally ready to dry brush with a nice dry brush. And I would have opened it up. I would have opened up my Artis Opus Series S for, I don't know, standard brush?
Series B for brush? I don't know. I would have been upset if there were not dry brushes in that box. I'll tell you what. But a sales associate, and I got to talk, and you're like, oh, you're picking up some brushes. Like, yeah, I'm getting some dry brushes. He's like, oh, those are not dry brushes. Like, okay, all right, thank you very much. Didn't even look at the product before you bought it. Yeah. I hope you use them, because I've used them before in some classes that I've taken, and man, like, I like a good dollar store makeup brush. Okay, like I'm a proponent, right? But yeah, those Artis Opus dry brushes are a whole other thing. Ooh. They really are.
Well, now I'm excited. Hold on, let me. Yeah. All right, you talk. I'm going to make sure that there are dry brushes.
So here's the difference, right? So, when you have kind of a crap dry brush, you're like, oh, I've basically wrecked this cheap brush that I bought from Walmart, so I'm going to use it as a dry brush. And then you switch to makeup brushes, and you're like, wow, there is a very big difference between that crappy, 50-cent brush that I bought from Walmart and this makeup brush. Well, the difference between the makeup brush and the Artis Opus brush, I would say, is probably 2 times that amount. The actual application and satisfaction of how the paint applies on a model with the Artis Opus brush is twice as awesome. Yeah,
we'll see about that. Yeah,
I'm just gonna put my flag
test that.
in the sand.
I've got everything I need to test that. Yeah,
I know. I'm really just trying to get you to do it, but they even gave you brush soap. You're literally pulling out a thing of brush soap.
Yeah, it's a nice little wooden box. We've got 5 dry brushes in here in ascending size. We have a little container of nice smelling brush soap, and we've got a little glass container that has a sponge in it. And one of the little tricks here is
slightly wet.
You have this little sponge, and you put a single fat drop of water on the sponge, and that is your like water reservoir to moisten the dry brush and to keep it clean. So like you just kind of every once in a while you go back to the slightly damp sponge, just tap it, get a tiny bit of moisture in the dry brush, wipe it off again on your dry palette, which is something I've made recently of just gluing a bunch of bits down to a baking tray. You're not supposed to use paper towel. Apparently, paper towel takes out too much moisture from the brush.
Right, you're supposed to
leaves behind too much resin and pigment. Yeah. So
this is something that actually Peachy told me a couple years ago.
Yeah.
When I met him in Las Vegas, right, in the middle of nowhere. He was doing the same thing, but with GW dry brushes, just dipping the very corner of it in water. And that was like the basis of this kind of speed painting course that he was doing. And it was the same thing as don't use like paper towels, like use this cardboard that we have, because it'll take the proper amount off and all that. So it's interesting. Like, feel like there's an evolution with like the proper brushes and everything of that, and a little spongy thing. That's pretty cool. Yeah. The spongy thing. Yeah. Probably I should have probably picked up one of them spongy things.
Yeah. So just the zeitgeist of the commonly expressed rules of get your flat brush and dip it in paint and then smear it all over a paper towel and then go dry brush something. Like, that's what I thought I was supposed to do up until like a month ago.
Right. Yeah.
I've been watching more Artis Opus from them since then, and other people have been talking about it more and more. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting how knowledge kind of spreads around and people get, tuned into new ideas and new ways of doing things. But it seems like Artis Opus is the source of this objectively better way of dry brushing. And that's cool. And I don't think Byron invented dry brushing or anything like that, but popularizing something and getting it out to the masses has huge value. And even if I never use these expensive dry brushes, like, it was worth it to me to buy them to support that. So
that's fair. That's fair. No, I think it is important to support whenever we can, right? Like, that's certainly how we keep the stuff going. But damn it, man, like, use the brushes.
All right. Look, we'll see.
At some point, we're going to paint bravely on this podcast.
Okay, you're right. You called me. You called me. I got to be brave. I got to just dip my expensive brushes. I got to do it. I got to do it.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Speaking of paint bravely.
Yeah, what do you
get? So this year, thank you for your awesome reminders to buy the Kobold cards, because I did. I went on eBay and I bought about 100 Kobold Magic cards, and I handed them out to a ton of people, an absolute ton of people at Adepticon. I ran out, in fact, of the
still got one.
What's the card again? I can't even remember. It's like the hidden.
It's a taunting Kobold.
Taunting Kobold, yeah.
Haste. Whenever taunting Kobold attacks, goad target creature an opponent controls. He's a 0/1. Yeah, he's cost 1 red mana. It's a mountain.
Them attack you? Is that what the goad? I assume that's
I think so.
Means.
Yeah.
I don't know. They used to put the text on there. They don't anymore. Pissing me off with the Magic cards these days.
Anyway, if people came up to us and said, like, hey, we love the podcast, we just went into our back pocket and pulled out a Kobold. Everyone else given these nice stickers. I got this Zambies sticker here that's very clear, who Zambies is, and you got her name, and it's a sticker.
That's a good sticker.
Meanwhile, for Paint Bravely, the podcast, we were just giving out Magic the Gathering taunting Kobold cards.
Well, that's how we do it on this podcast. We subvert those expectations. We don't want to be too forward-facing in public. We just want to, a little bit in there.
Dr. Rhino does miniature painting on Twitch. We got we got Monster Den minis here with the picture of their logo. All these people giving out useful party favors.
I feel like there was a memo that went out.
Remind you of who they are.
Yeah, and we didn't get that memo.
This is big this year. People are giving out a lot of stickers. We just had Magic the Gathering cards for like a stupid inside joke.
Right.
But people will remember. Like,
I mean,
a couple of people came up to us and flat out said, we love Kobold talk.
Yes.
And boom, they get a Kobold, and they also got let in on the, at that point, in a couple of days, Kobold Talk episode 2 is coming out. So
yeah, because we recorded it the day before we flew out.
Yeah, YOLO. Yeah. So
Pretty
that was
much, yeah.
that was good. That was real good.
It was good. I was very happy about that.
Yep. This sticker just says Cooper is a perfect gentleman, and it's a picture of a yellow lab, and he looks like a good boy.
It probably is. Yeah.
And I don't see a name on here. I think we might have gotten this along with Painterly Git's other stickers.
Yeah, so he included a very lovely gift bag, had a full set of D&D dice in it.
Yeah.
A bunch of stickers, some cards, a magnet,
some gum,
and some other kind of candy. There was, I forget what it's called.
Painterly Git. Oh yeah, Smarties, which are apparently good M&Ms. Yeah.
What you got against M&Ms?
No, they're like improved M&Ms. Sorry, better M&Ms. Okay. Yeah.
Just thought they didn't quite hit the bootin' for you.
Easy. I got another card here, and this is a serious one. Did not expect this interaction. We ran into Victoria Lamb of Victoria Miniatures fame, and famous before that too. But
very much like Golden Demon winning painter. Yeah. No, I was like painting a goblin, and then all of a sudden she's just there, and you're talking to her, and I'm like, I don't know what to do right now.
No,
I ended up like painting on a live stream for an hour instead.
Yeah, but that was awesome to meet Victoria. She's kind of part of the pantheon of painters that you should know. But more recently, she's been a sculptor, and so Victoria Miniatures does a lot of alternate Imperial Guard models. A lot of
specifically, yes,
female commissars, female troops for kind of the best known stuff that she makes.
Yeah, some very good Sisters of Battle, like deep cut proxies, like some good ones.
Heck yeah. So that was a cool connection. Actually, it was fun to learn a little bit about how she is producing her current Kickstarters. So she's starting to do somewhat regular Kickstarters. And the reason why we were excited to meet her and weren't expecting to meet her is because she lives in Australia. And she sells to customers in Australia, in Europe, in the United States. And so the way she's gotten around the international shipping issue is to have regional production in the United States, in Europe, in Australia.
Yeah.
And so I think her most recent Kickstarter was like halfling snipers, like not ratlings kind of guys.
Was it? I thought it was like the horse.
That's upcoming. That's upcoming.
Oh, that's upcoming. Okay.
Yeah. Rough Riders are upcoming. Yeah, keep an eye on that.
They look good.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, so one of the materials that she's using is COcast. And so, just regional production in 3 places around the globe drastically reduce the amount of shipping that's going on.
Yeah.
And also, it was cool to talk to, actually we met Dave Baker from Trenchworks. We met Ramon Yon from Professionals in Miniatures, I think is at least the tagline of his company. But that's the United States and American producers for Victoria Miniatures. They run production for a lot of other companies too. But it was cool to meet both of those guys and learn a little bit about it. But also, I think they're both starting to do some manufacturing by 3D printing, and that was something really cool to learn about also, is the setting up a print plate for the purpose of getting as many minis on there as you can, to the point of doing like double, triple, quadruple stacks. Yeah, the entire the entire rectangular prism volume of a 3D printer.
Mhm.
And I'd seen that before on a couple
Uncle
of YouTube
Jesse.
channels. Yeah, Uncle Jesse
Yeah.
doing the like double and triple stacking of
Mhm.
build plates. So the idea is, okay, you fill up a build plate with as many minis as you can, and then you have like columns of vertical supports in between the minis, and then above that first row of minis, you basically make
Print another
floor.
build plate.
Yeah, yeah, like another floor, and so it ends up looking, I mean, almost like a skyscraper of just floors of minis on top of each other.
It's
And
a
so,
really good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can, set up a print run, walk away for 12 hours, and then essentially have like 4 or 5 completed print runs,
Mhm.
very
Yeah,
efficiently stacked minis. Yeah.
He said in 10 hours, it was 200 models. And I mean, granted, they're using an industrial, like larger than normal printer.
It wasn't huge, though.
It wasn't
and
huge.
the model footprints were small also. They were well chosen. But
that's fair.
But anyway, this is 3D printing as a manufacturing technique. Not casting out a metal or CO cast or resin or, whatever. Actually using a 3D printer to manufacture to then sell physical prints to people at somewhat of scale. And talking to these guys, it was interesting. One of the advantages that 3D printing has is that you can make bits that are impossible with traditional, like, 2-part mold casting systems.
Yeah.
So in the vast majority of materials that we use, they come out of a 2-part mold. And so, like, undercuts are very tricky. Like, there are certain shapes you just can't do. It's the reason, like, bolters are not pre-drilled. Bolters are solid because you can't make a mold that has, like, an insert in the barrel. And a bunch of other problems. It's why, like, a lot of old metal minis, if they're single piece, they kind of have a flat pose of, like, holding the arms above their heads or out to the sides or whatever. But with a 3D print, you can have any shape you want. You can print hollow things. There can be a void in the center of your model if you want. And one of the examples they had was he printed as a single print piece a man inside a cage. And there's like a man inside a dungeon cage holding on to the bars. And if that were, cast in 2-part molds, that would be so many bits. So it would be at least like 5 or 6 bits, at least.
Yeah, there'd be gaps all over the place. You'd be having to fill in the stupid cage.
Yeah.
Probably, it'd be all sorts of stupid problems. But
so they were even talking about using hybrid models. So apparently the Rough Riders that are going to be coming out from Victoria Miniatures, some of the bits will be CO cast and some of the bits will be durable 3D printed resin, in order to make the most of the advantages of both of those systems. And since you have to use super glue anyway for either of those materials, might as well do a hybrid. And
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, some of them even had metal parts. I think he had some with all 3.
Possibly.
Like, it was all he had this like claw thing that had, the claws were metal, then the legs were CO cast, and the head was 3D printed, like a whole thing. It was all 3 of it put together and all super glued. It looked awesome.
That's so cool.
Once you get all that primed and painted, it's like you're not going to know what materials they are, but it's something that, like, we're finally getting to the point with some of this technology where we're going to get castings and we're going to get models that don't look like other models because they're done in such a way that, like 3D printing, well, that piece is impossible to get from traditional, hips and stuff. So we're definitely seeing like some innovation, I think, in this area, which is really cool. Yeah.
That stuff gets me so interested, makes me so happy. And so, it was awesome running into all 3 of those folks. What else? We ran into Marco for Zoni.
Yeah, Marco. Man, Marco. Like, I've always liked Marco. Like his videos, like his attitude, especially. I mean, anybody who's seen Marco knows. But, like, the man is just as awesome in person. And, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that
possibly better. Yeah.
Probably. He just is. Even more animated in person. Like, you got the arms right in your face. It's great.
So good. But no, it's a convention in America, and you expect to see some Canadians that you didn't realize were Canadians beforehand. But it's a nice treat that Europeans are there, Australians are there, a lot of people are just there. Like, oh, I had no idea I'd ever get to meet you, but I'm so happy that this is happening.
That's true. No, in fact, it's weird. I was thinking back on it not too long ago, and like we had more than a few conversations with people for like, long amounts of time where like the American in the room is me and you, and we're outnumbered by a lot of people. Like there were a lot of people from out of the country that flew in for this one. Which is pretty crazy. Like, because last year nobody did, and I assume that's because of the COVID restrictions in general. But it was really cool because definitely not expecting to see a lot of the people we did this year. We had lunch with Marco and Ben Comets.
That was our second lunch that day. Yeah,
it was lunch and then second lunch. Literally walked over and just sat for another 2 hours.
Yeah, that was so good. So it's such a concentrated event of mini painting and gaming that like you can always walk into somebody that you recognize, and everybody's happy to say hi and talk to you, and like it's a very social event for people who aren't always social, and so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we'd been wandering around all day. It was like 2:00. We were like, wow, we should probably eat some solid food because
considering we hadn't in about 2 days. Like literally had not eaten basically.
We were going
food.
off of like Doritos for 2 days. Like just putting a
Doritos and Bud Light. Like that's it.
Which can keep you going for about 47 hours, but around hour 48, you gotta eat a sandwich. Like you gotta,
That was our limit. Yeah.
So we wandered over to the hotel restaurant, and like there's John, Nin John, like, hey, you want to get some lunch? Like, no, I just ate, sorry. Like, oh, okay. And then just up the escalator comes Stephanie from Orion's Belt Miniatures. And she's like, do you want to get some lunch? Like, yeah. Like, well, there you go. And so
do you want to talk about that first before we move on? Like her coming up the escalator?
Well, that was it was I think Stephanie's first time at Adepticon. Yeah. And she was, I don't think she'd met most of the people there in person before, and so I know she had like a list of internet friends that she was looking forward to meeting. And she was just coming into the hotel, like with her bags and everything, just coming up the escalator, and just immediately saw like 3 people she recognized from the internet, and just like, hey, let's go get lunch. And that kind of interaction happened all the time. It was great.
We also falsely told her where to check in. Not on purpose, of course.
She said she needed to register, and where was the registration desk?
She did say that. We pointed at the check-in desk for the hotel. Like, here's where you check into the hotel. So wait, she said, I can't remember. She
say check in or register?
It doesn't matter. We obviously
either one is ambiguous.
Yeah, it was enough for us to say, here, it's right here. It's right here. And she went over there, and she said, when she met us for lunch, she's like, I was there for a while, and the dude was like arguing, and like she's like, I'm here for Adepticon, and the guy couldn't find her in the computer and all this stuff, and she was freaking out. And it's like, turns out she already had a hotel. She was trying to get her Adepticon badge, which is literally on the opposite end of the whole place. And so I wanted to say, I'm sorry that we did that.
In our defense, we thought she had suitcases. She had army boxes.
Oh yeah,
her army boxes were just very pretty, and they looked like suitcases. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So we were like, yeah, there's the registration's right over there. Come, register. Come meet us at the table for lunch. But
yeah.
Anyway, that all got worked out. Had a good first lunch there from like 2 to 3, and then we got up to leave and just walked right by Marco and Ben Comets and a couple other folks were there, Chris, and just sat down with them and like did second lunch with them. We didn't get food that time, but
no, but
we were good for another 48 hours or so.
Basically, yeah. And then we didn't really, we didn't eat a lot, honestly, during this entire period of time. Like, we ended up getting a bunch of free food, which was pretty hilarious.
A lot of people gave us leftovers. Like, for days, we lived off of leftovers.
For literally 2 days, yeah.
Yeah. That lunch that we just described was like the only meal we bought.
Yes, exactly.
We bought
Besides the Doritos and beer.
We bought a lot of Doritos. We bought
way
meals
too much
worth
money
of
on
Doritos. But yeah, the same thing happened the next day. Is like we were heading up is like 2. We'd been like talking to people all morning, and it's time for a really late lunch. And we get upstairs, and there's actually a line at the hotel restaurant. And you're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And then there's John and Scott and Vince were all just eating Chinese food in the hotel lobby. And they're like, hey, we got extra. Like, come on over. Like, okay.
Sweet.
And then we got the leftovers.
Yeah, they're like, we're not taking any of this, so it's yours now. So we had Chinese food in our hotel room.
The next day, Zambies and Whittle Goblin came by when we were hanging out and getting pretty hungry, and they just gave us their giant soft pretzels. That was nice. So it's a good convention, all in all.
I mean, people are friendly. They share. I got COVID.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the
I did not get COVID. You got COVID in Denver. Like, yeah, you.
I'm gonna say that. I'm definitely gonna say that.
Yeah, you got COVID.
Denver was rough
while you were reading the Yafziga rulebook. Yafziga.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, Casey seems to be better now. Ish.
Slight-ish, maybe. Feeling better. Still got that throat tickle going on, you know.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I think a lot of people did get Concred this year. Again, more people than before. It's like 4 days of people going to sleep at 2 a.m. or later.
Oh my God!
Not wearing masks, and just a ton of folks. Everyone, most people having just come from an airport. So a lot of people left with, I think, a wide variety of illnesses. But
it was only a couple people that got COVID though.
Sure.
For the most part, it was like, oh, I got a mild cold, whatever.
Yeah, a little concred. That happens.
It wasn't the worst that I've seen. Because even last year at Adepticon, like, I still got sick.
Sure.
I didn't get COVID, but I got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because, like, I was being mindful, like, the whole time. So, who knows? You know?
I mean, it's just hard. Yeah, a lot of people all together in close proximity, and it's hard to stay disciplined and lucky for 4 days straight. So
yeah, I definitely feel like luck is a factor in that, right?
Especially if you flew there and then flew back. Like, not a lot you can do.
12 hours in freaking Denver, Colorado.
It's a roll of a D14, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I was thinking about it because, like, we hung out with Kenny Boucher.
Yeah, we did.
A while.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Kenny I'm convinced, anyways, that he almost had you convinced that 40K was pretty fun until about the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we sat and watched almost a full game of Kenny playing 40K with one of his buddies, and
It was pretty cool.
It was cool to see what someone so obviously proficient in the game can do. And that both of them were obviously proficient, knew exactly what was going on, knew each other's rule books
at all.
Knew their rule book, knew the opponent's rule book, knew the list inside and out, and it was fun to see the flow of the game from people who really knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But then we'd see like the excitement in their eyes when they were talking about like scoring victory points and whether something was objective secured, but not this turn because of this thing. And I get 2 points because nobody's in that corner. And this guy is a wizard and slay the wizard and championship of winning. And like they were taking actual joy in counting the victory points. And they're like, big smiles on their face when it was 62 to 87. And
yeah, Kenny lost. He didn't collect his data.
Oh, they were collecting data. That's right. That was part of it.
Well, he was.
Yeah, it was cool to see that, like, it is possible to get over a hump of the learning curve to actually really understand the game without having to look at a rule book, and that there are people. It was good to see. I could tell both of them were enjoying the game. Both of them were enjoying what was going on. Right. And, listening to some of the rules that they were rattling off did not sound like something I would enjoy, but Yeah.
It sounded like an awful lot.
It sounded like a lot. It was like a lot.
Like, it was a lot. Like, I'd be fine with like half of what they were talking about. I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. That seems fine.
Again, not for me, but at least a little bit of appreciation for the fact that some people do enjoy it and are able to retain that amount of information.
Like, by proxy, it was fun, right? It was like fun to see them having fun. It definitely built an appreciation for it. Something that I don't think I would want to put myself in the place to go down that road.
10th edition is coming out. All of the information in their brain is going to be wiped out in 4 months.
That's the other thing, right? It's like here they are so proficient at this thing, knowing the details in their army. And I mean, Kenny did make the point that like, I don't need to know anybody else's army. I just need to know mine. Like, people are generally going to just know their army, and then you can ask questions, whatever, that's fine. But now the 10th is coming out. It's like, dude, like all the stuff you're talking about is now going away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I could. Oh man, it's a lot. It really is.
These are people who enjoy reading the rule book, though.
Oh yeah,
like that's part of it for them. Yeah.
And I mean that Kenny's always said, he's painting, doing all this next level painting and getting it to high quality, doing all this stuff so he can play the game. It's always been the goal.
Yep.
And I mean, man, seeing like he had his Blood Angels army that he's been painting on stream and in some videos. It looks pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of those armies looked good. Yep.
They did. They really did. It was pretty cool. We hung out with Kenny for a good long time. 4 or 5 hours.
Always good to see Kenny Boucher, next level painting. That's right.
Yeah, it was a good time. We had lots of not great whiskey, I'm going to say. I don't know what it was.
It was in a solo cup. It was fine.
It was. In a bottle before, and at least had a cork on it. So yeah. Not my favorite whiskey. I mean, I'm not, whatever, not a snob or something, but
thank you for the whiskey, Kenny. I appreciate it. I appreciated it very much.
Don't throw me into the bus. Putin's about it.
Yeah, it was in a glass bottle and it had a cork, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, it was good.
Look, Jack Daniels has a cork, okay? I'm just saying. I don't know what kind of whiskey it was. It wasn't my favorite, but it was whiskey and it was pretty good.
I have a sticker with a Jawa stripper on it. This Jawa stripper is courtesy of Monster Den Minis.
I have the model on my desk behind me.
I've painted the model.
Oh my god!
I'm telling you, I'm getting through my my backlog here.
Look, out of the 5 models that you had painted, that you had said you'd start at 80%, honestly didn't think it was going to be the Stripper Jala.
Yeah, I did that one. I actually did a really good start on 6 minis that I got from Warzone Eternal, which is an upcoming Kickstarter. That was a funny interaction where we were going around to different booths, hanging out with people, learning things, checking out the games, and the minis of this game, Warzone Eternal, drew me in. I was sitting there looking at them and chatting with the game designer and all that. And while we were chatting, like, several people came up and said hi to me while I was at the booth, to the point where
he's like, wait a minute.
Brian just eventually said, like, wait, do you have like a YouTube channel or something, and how many people watch? And I told him, and he said, oh, okay. And then he turns around and he hands me a plastic Ziploc baggie that had the bits to make 6 models in it for their upcoming Kickstarter. And so actually put them together. They're like cyberpunk power armor guys, and put them together, painted them green, did some black lining, used black magic black ink on them, which is actually really good stuff. It's what Mike Cousins uses, Epic Duck Studios. That's what he recommends. But anyway, those were some of the models that I got, and there were a couple of times when somebody slipped me a model, Casey, and they didn't slip you one because you get all your stuff on eBay, and you kind of shoot yourself in the foot for free models at conventions. But you did a rescue. You did a rescue. Tell everybody about your rescue. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, even the models that I do get slipped end up in a pile.
Like the Java stripper?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair. It's completely fair. Like, no one's ever seen one of those painted on the channel, so yeah. Like, they're not expecting anything. But yeah, because Adepticon has a massive used models store, a bit store, Bits Bazaar, if you will, that runs 24 hours through the entire convention, 24 hours a day. It's just nonstop people buying a bunch of used stuff. Yeah, we went on a mission. I ended up spending too much money buying a whole bunch of like Rogue Trader orcs, like real old orcs. Really cool looking ones. But I also got some goblins. You got some witches?
I got some goblins.
You did get some goblins, yeah.
Yeah, I got some, Blackrock No.
Blackreach?
No, Blackreach is orcs.
No, you're right. Holy crap.
Skull Pass, Battle for Skull Pass.
Yeah,
I got
Skull
some
Pass,
Battle
Skull
for
Pass.
Skull Pass goblins. And then, yep, so I got some more of those. You can never have too many of those. And also, we did find the old metal Dark Eldar Archon, but not the terrible one with the claws. We found
the one that I just painted, yeah.
The lady Dark Eldar Archon, who's a much better model. She might have been called the Drakon. I don't know. Anyway, tell the people about your goblins that I found for you, Casey.
Yeah, so we went through most of the boxes that were there and looking for like some interesting models, and of course, we ended up in the goblins box, and I know that you did buy like a stupid amount of those Skull Pass goblins, like for a good price though. I mean, it was basically a dollar.
Basically a dollar each, and I did get including like the cool character goblins, the archer leader that has the little sword and his hood is down and he's holding his bow above his head.
Oh yeah.
If you know, you know. But I found that guy for $1. I was pretty happy about that. Yeah.
No, that's good stuff. So you got a lot of those, and then we found some old what were they? The chariot goblins with the big fat teeth, the grinning teeth. They got metal. The bows. They're metal.
Yeah.
They had tabs on the bottom of them, but they weren't slotted tabs. They were like remove this tabs to put on the actual chariot. I did actually see one of the chariots in like the used painted bins, which I was so close, but I have no use for it technically to buy. But yeah, so Brent found those, and he had convinced me like, oh no, we need to shoot this video. You need to make a video while you're here. So he found the goblins, got the goblins. The goblins were covered with a lot, a decent amount of dirt and dust and stuff. They've probably been sitting on a shelf for who knows how long. They're pretty old. They're from the early 90s. So the baggie that they came in
96,
took to a hand sanitizer station and filled that bag filled with hand sanitizer to start stripping those minis down. Video's coming out in a couple weeks, by the way. Like, the footage is stupid. It's really stupid.
Have you looked at it?
Oh yeah, like I've looked through the footage. I've already started. I'm writing a script right now, and I've gone through the footage because I just finished the Golden Demon video that I was working on.
Let's tell the rest of the story. Yeah,
Oh yeah. So strip these models down
in a public restroom while I was filming it.
Yeah. So we went to the closest bathroom, right? Turn on the hot water.
I think Vince was just leaving.
He was, yeah. He was wondering what we were doing, and everybody else was basically standing outside.
And we were just walking into the men's room with a video camera. Yeah.
We're literally, it's Trent from Miscast, which he was there, by the way. It was super awesome to see him in person, finally.
Hey, Trent.
Yeah. No, I had a good time with Trent. It's good. It's great. Oh my God, I almost forgot. We didn't talk about the grinder.
Okay. Yeah, do it.
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, we'll get there. Or maybe we shouldn't talk about it. Maybe that should be a secret for Adepticon.
Yeah, I feel like other people have talked about it.
Well, then they've broken the first rule of grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, we had these minis, filled this bag full of hand sanitizer, went into the closest restroom. All the people were out there, right? They're just hanging out waiting for us. Basically cleaned off the models, got a good amount of the primer down, like it cleaned it off and got some of the metal showing again.
It worked really well. Yeah, we just went up to hand sanitizer, like a hand sanitizer stand in the convention hall.
Automatic ones,
and gave it like 8 pumps into the little plastic baggie, and the alcohol and hand sanitizer actually works pretty good at stripping down old metal minis. Yeah.
Like, we were looking into buying some mouthwash for a while, trying to find some mouthwash, and then somebody was just like, "Why not just use hand sanitizer?" Yeah, that'll do. So strip the models down. Had to put them on a base and figure out what we're gonna do with them. So we ended up finding. I don't remember what bases used.
I think they came with 2 square bases. Like somebody didn't know what they were bagging up. They thought they were just, I don't know, some other. They didn't realize that they were from the chariot. They thought the little tab under the feet was a slaughter tab and not a remove this so you can glue it to a chariot tab.
Well, sucks to be them. So okay, I guess we ended up with 3 bases. Yeah, which is good. So Brent, you happen to bring super glue.
I did. Always keep that in your toiletry bag when you travel
just
to a
in
mini
case.
Convention. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But was able to super glue them down to the bases, and then we had to find primer. Now, we ended up getting a couple hookups on primer. Mm-hmm. Somebody that we talked to happened to have some. We were like, okay, we'll meet up with you maybe like the next day or something.
Right.
But the next morning, we ran into Fiverr and her buddy.
Yeah, Mark.
Mark, yeah. All the way from Ireland, wasn't he? Like, he flew from Ireland to be there.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure. I mean,
and while he was there, he bought a can of spray paint.
He did. White primer. Look at that. So there was like just enough black primer left on the model that I basically was able to borrow his white primer. We went outside and filmed this
into the
this,
hotel
open
parking
field.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I zenithly primed a couple of sweet goblins. And
That
later
prime
on,
job came out amazing, by the way. Like
they look good. I nailed it with that prime can. It was cold outside too. It was freezing.
Yeah.
It's like it'd been snowing and stuff. Really not great weather. But yeah, like nailed the primer, left it to kind of cool off for a while and dry. And then we went down to the painting area and basically just grabbed a handful of Reaper paints because we didn't see that there was Pro Acryl and Citadel, not that far off. I'm not a fan of Reaper paints. Honestly.
I thought they were working fine. I thought they were doing fine.
I was not having it, man. It was not good. I was very disappointed.
Okay, like, maybe pick some bad ones.
I don't know. But, I mean, I shook the crap out of them. But, I mean, they're supposed to be thin, and that's part of their thing, right?
Yeah.
They glaze well. They can layer and do other stuff. For base coating, though, it was atrocious. Like, it sucked. Once I got the base coats down, and I started working with them, like, I could thin them down and make some washes, that kind of thing. It was fine. And as far as like glazing and layering and stuff, that worked pretty well. So, I mean, as far as that goes, fine. They're perfectly fine paints. But man, like it took me like 45 minutes to finally get to a place where I was like, okay, now I can work with this. And that doesn't usually happen for me. So yeah, I wasn't super happy. And I wish we had seen the other paints that were down there.
Yeah. We, so actually it got talking to a company called Huge Miniatures that also has a line of paints, and they tried to get their paint stand down in the kind of free paint area called Fort Wapple under the escalators there. And they actually, like, apparently Adepticon did not put their rack there. They just like gave out the paints as prizes in some other event.
Oh no.
So they weren't super happy about that. But I did buy 3 bottles of Huge Miniatures paint. I put it in my toiletry bag and took it home with me and used it a little bit at home. And it's very, very thick paint.
Yeah.
And so there's, it was okay. Like I wasn't in the mood for it, like when I put it on my wet palette, but,
sure.
But yeah, if you're feeling like, kind of doing the thinning yourself and getting to just the right consistency, like, yeah, I could see it being a solid option. And I'd heard about Huge Miniatures paint like once before. Someone on Discord had mentioned it. And so it was good to finally meet those guys. They had a booth there. They've got a line of paint. They've got basing stuff. They've got a line of fluorescent paints. And like I said, I bought just 3 of the regular paints and tried them out, and they're fine. They're thick. You gotta thin them yourself. And maybe someday I'll play around with their fluorescents and learn some more. But that is another line of paints that's out there in the world. Yeah.
Dude, man, there's a lot of paints.
There is.
Yeah,
there is.
a lot of talk about the cuttlefish paints this year.
Sure.
Creature Caster had on show. Like, yeah, a lot of paints for sure. And man, yeah, I like a good like heavy body paint for sure. Like an artist paint, real thick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like Pro Acryl has that like right in the middle feel. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. I mean, it's a little thin.
It's on the border of too thin, but actually I've gotten really used to it, and that's Pro Acryl's my go-to at this point. But
for sure, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, like the thick. I didn't see too much of the. I mean, I didn't buy any of the Huge Miniatures paints, so I have to look into it. I didn't realize they were so thick, so that's cool.
Hey, worth a try.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It was one of those things, like it was thick enough so that I check my wet palette the next day and the paint is still there, which is not what Pro Acryl does. So, no,
nice.
It
kind of breaks down a little bit. Although it's weird. I have found uses for that.
Okay.
And I end up taking a new like small dollop, little squeeze out the bottle of fresh paint and using what's there to mix.
Okay.
And like it's got a real nice consistency after the second day. It's not terrible. So that's, I don't know, just using a paint.
I normally just get myself a new drop, but hey.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You put a new drop next to the puddle, and you use the puddle instead of water to thin that down.
Okay.
It's nice and opaque. It's good. It's good. It works. Trust me.
I'll think about it.
Trust me.
We'll think about it. Yeah.
Wet palette bravely. You got this.
Okay. Well, take that Casey advice. Take that any day. Yeah.
Oh, man. God, I feel like I'm forgetting so much.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're just supposed to babble and entertain people while they're hopefully painting. Although we met one listener. We met one listener who says she doesn't listen to us while she paints. She listens to us while she walks a stroller with her cats in it. So that's good too. Hey, how you doing?
Right.
It's nice to meet you. Yeah,
that's great.
Give them a little scratch.
I'm glad that your cats are getting exercise in this moment. That's wonderful. Yeah, a little scratch behind the ear, and it's time to turn around and head back home. Time for that.
Yeah, because we're more than halfway through this podcast. We've been going for a little while here, so yeah.
There's still a lot to talk about. We even have news, like actual segments of news.
Well, we got to do this quick then. I still think
there's more to talk about.
Yeah.
I know. I know. Well, look. What? We're going to say the same thing.
What are you going to say?
What are you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say we could wrap it up at any time. We have nothing important to talk about. I will say
that's not true.
We've been name dropping a lot of people here tonight, and if we ran into you at Adepticon, we know that we saw you, and we were glad that we saw you. And if we didn't name drop you here tonight, like we're running out of time here. We got to keep a schedule. So we almost forgot to mention Trent, and he came from Australia. Like we can't get to everybody. Can't get to everybody on our list.
It's true. No, we met a lot of people.
Yeah.
I met Sergio Calvo. I was very excited about that.
Berserker
Talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eenie Minis. We met.
Yeah, she came by.
Sam
came by for a little bit. It's good.
Yeah. But yeah, we could just name drop for a while.
Right. Went to dinner with Vince and John and Scott and Jason and
just today I was on an Uncle Adam video. You believe that?
Yeah, I missed out on that. I was just I don't know where I was.
You were securing white paint. Yeah.
Is that what I forget? Oh, it was. No, something. I don't know. I just showed up and he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, oh, okay.
Just in time.
Doesn't matter. But no. The most important news has nothing to do with anybody who was there. Luis has a channel now.
That's right.
Only Hands went rogue.
Rogue Hobbies.
Rogue Hobbies on YouTube. Luis Sugden from Warhammer TV.
Subscribe to Rogue Hobbies.
Yes,
I
that's
saw
very
a comment.
important.
On the date of this recording, she just dropped a 1-minute trailer on Rogue Hobbies that basically says there's going to be a channel called Rogue Hobbies and it's going to have Luis, and the channel trailer had her painting stuff, but it also had her face in it, which we haven't seen for a little while.
At least 3 weeks.
It's good to see her. Yeah, good to see her.
Exactly.
Good to see her. So
no, that's very important. I wanted to make sure that we got to that because that would suck if we didn't.
Yeah.
And it's like the reason that I wanted to wait until today to record this episode.
Okay. Well, we just want to say congratulations to Luis, and we're wishing you the best of luck on your endeavor. Good to see your face again. And yeah, I don't know. My favorite comment on the trailer video from today, somebody said, this YouTube channel is going to be what I wish that Warhammer Plus had been. And sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah.
Very, very good. Very good.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. We're
right,
all rooting for you. Yeah.
For sure. Well, in that case, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time, friends.